worried about getting access. You're not aware of that? It's about 2 weeks ago.
Welcome, everyone, to the October 10th, 2019 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. Would you please join me in reciting the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm Barb Lewis, President. To my left, our Vice President, Jeff Benton. To my right, fellow Commissioner Gary Merrill, our Administrator, Mike Fromer, and our Clerk, Sarah DeNovo. We can begin.
Resolution number 19-1001, in the matter of approving the electronic record of the proceedings from regular meeting held October 7th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1001. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We have no public comment this morning. Resolution number 19-1002, in the matter of approving purchase orders that announce certificates and payments of warrants and batch numbers CMA PR 1009 and memo transfers and batch numbers MCA PR 1009.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1002. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1003, in the matter of approving travel expense requests.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1003. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1004, in the matter of approving the schedule of assessments for the cost for the proceedings from the dismissed Kingston Township watershed number 2017-2 drainage improvement petition.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1004. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1005, in the matter of canceling the Commissioner's session for Thursday, October 17th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1005. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1006, in the matter of approving the tenant estoppel certificate for the lease between the Tuller Square North Point LLC and the Delaware County Commissioners for the Delaware County Clerk of Courts Title Division, premise at 8647 Comus Pike, Lewis Center, Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1006. Mr. Merrill? Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1007, in the matter of approving transfer of funds for the Job and Family Services Department.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
It's been a long
Stephen.
time since I've seen you. I'm here
missed
this
you.
morning.
We missed you.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Steve Sikora here with Job and Family Services on behalf of Director Robert Anderson. He couldn't be here today. He's in Leadership Delaware, so enjoying the class,
okay.
I'm sure. I'm here today to talk about request quarterly reimbursements from our Workforce Fund and Children's Services Fund to our Public Assistance Fund. Each pay comes out of our Public Assistance Fund, so then quarterly we just reimburse from Children's Services and Workforce what we've paid out in salaries. So I'm here to request that the funds be transferred today.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1007. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Stephen.
Resolution number 19-1008, in the matter of approving change order number 004 to the contract between the Delaware County Board of Commissioners and Altman Company for Delaware County Historic Courthouse.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, John Melvin, Director of Facilities. This change order is for, in essence, underground piping in the courthouse. In our renovation of the historic courthouse, we're getting all new mechanicals in there, and the architect, in their effort to make sure we hide those mechanicals as much as possible and restore the historical nature, is running all the hot water for the hot water radiators underground in the basement. They omitted in the specs section the actual type of pipe to run underground. And the question was never raised during bidding either, so they've added that specification to the type of pipe to be run underground, which is an upcharge from what they had base bid, just running copper piping. So this is the material cost with a little bit of labor because they have to weld the joints instead of just soldering the joints. So I am recommending approval of this change order.
Is this common to put the pipes underground like this?
not uncommon, more common, especially, like, again, trying to restore the historic nature of the building
okay.
and not have a bunch of mechanical piping run all over the
All
place.
right,
So,
okay.
What about work down the road? Leaks 10 years from now, is that going to make it much more expensive, much more?
it'd be more expensive, but that's, again, why we wanted this specific type of piping and not just use copper, it is for that purpose.
It seems quite an upcharge for,
Yes,
So
it's to avoid that.
is the material that expensive, or is it
Yes.
the labor, or both?
Majority of this is the difference in material. So there is some upcharge on the labor, additional, not upcharge, but additional labor required because the mechanical connections of this type of pipe compared to just copper piping. So,
Is that something that should have been assumed, or is it just such a unique situation that would be caught during the?
well, it should have been, the omission of this specification of this pipe should have been called in, by, even by the bidders should have, looked and said, the whole section was not provided. It was showed on the drawings for all the piping to be ran underground, so it was known this was underground piping, but the actual specification for underground piping was not provided. So,
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1008. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. John, do we still have our courthouse tour?
yes.
At 11?
I'm available, so hopefully work with your schedules.
Okay, great, thank you.
Resolution number 19-1009, in the matter of approving the sanitary sewer subdividers agreement for courtyards at Hyatt, sections 1 and 2.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Morning, Commissioners. Tiffany Mag, Director of Environmental Services. This is a condo development at the northwest corner of Sawmill and Hyatt's, and it's a standard sewer subdividers agreement. There's 84 units and a clubhouse in this development.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1009. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1010, in the matter of selecting 3 most qualified construction managers at risk for the Alum Creek WRF clarifier upgrade project for the Delaware County, Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
So this is a resolution to shortlist to 3 contractors on our Alum Creek Clarifier CMAR project. The reason that we're doing a CMAR on this project is because it is an existing facility. It's in operation and needs to obviously remain in operation throughout the duration of construction. So getting some contractor feedback during the design phase of the project can really be very valuable for a project like this. We actually had 5 contractors submit for their requests for proposal. We are shortlisting to 3, and those are Kokosing, Shook, and Peterson. So we look forward to getting some pricing proposals for them in the next stage here.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1010. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Benton?
Aye.
I'm sorry. Oh, while you're standing there, I called you a couple days ago, since that gentleman called me regarding the easement and his driveway.
Yes,
Has he been contacted? Has he been reassured? 'Cause,
he has, yes. We spoke to his wife a couple days ago, and she seemed generally okay with the plan. Unfortunately, his parcel sits back off the road, and it's actually landlocked. He has, I think, just an access easement across his neighbor's property to get out. So his neighbor negotiated an easement across his access easement for the sewer line to run across. So basically, he's cut off from accessing his own driveway, which was kind of out of his control and was not coordinated with the contractor. It's actually a developer project where the developer and the contractor are now working through that with the homeowner to make sure that they can get access. It sounds like they're going to be plating the construction at the end of each day, and I guess basically helping them kind of walk across that site to make sure that they're safe. We did contact the gentleman yesterday, the husband that lives there, the one that's been contacting you. I think we got his voicemail, but we're going to follow up with him again today.
Good. I basically said I would call you and just want to make sure I wasn't going to get another phone call, so I appreciate your following through on that. Thank you.
We are running 20 minutes early for our hearing, so we can move on to administrative reports if you'd like.
That sounds good.
I didn't have anything to report this morning.
I'm sure Commissioner Benton can kill 20 minutes.
I can talk about the philosophy of underground piping versus above. To put it in the ceiling if you guys want to talk about that. But, to that point, Tiffany had a situation at Lower Scioto where it is cheaper to run piping in the ceiling, but they had leaks that took out a electrical transfer switch that cost a lot more money than burying the piping. So traditionally, you bury piping, it's considered a longer-term solution. I know that people think of having to dig it up, but with the type of pipe, it shouldn't, we put pipe in the ground all the time, it'll be there 100 years and never be dug up. So it actually is it's a little bit more costly to bury it, but it is a better long-term, because if it leaks up in the ceiling, it not only is the pipe fixed, it's actually everything you tear out.
I think my
around it.
concern has more to do with these constant changes that, and I'm not an expert, but you think would be, experts would be aware of and be part of the original bid. It seems like we get, I'm going to use the word nitpicked a lot, on things that should have been obvious and should have been included, and if they weren't, shame on whoever. And that was my concern, so Commissioner Benton's nodding, so I think he agrees.
Yeah. And it varies by contractor, just how aggressive they are with changes.
Why wouldn't the contractor say, well, I missed it, I'll do it, and, I mean, I'm being serious, you're laughing, I'm being serious. I wish. But those things, in my view, some of those, I consider $28,000 significant, but minor in the scheme of things. That was my point, and it had nothing to do with.
Oh, no,
It had
okay.
nothing to do with whether it's going to be in the ceiling or the floor, but.
Well, and to your guys' point, I think when things are missed, it would have been, theoretically, the price would have been more had it been included. The problem is, it's not a competitively procured additional. So there probably is an upcharge, there is an upcharge. It's not, they're not getting $28,000 of additional money. They just weren't, if that would have been in the spec, they would have competitively bid that against the other stuff. So it's more of a, it wasn't a total miss. I think sometimes people perceive that it's a total
Well, let me
miss.
say this, what if another bidder had included that in his estimate, so that it's not apples and apples estimates then? So that's the point I'm trying to make, and again, I understand nothing's perfect, and again, I didn't bring it up till he brought that up, so I was done with it, so that was my point.
Well, you just may have run out of time. I may go to somebody else.
We're trying to kill time.
Yeah, okay, we'll let you still
I
go.
have two very small things, I think you have about 10, 12 minutes if you want it. Number one,
Got about 20 things, no.
I went by Source Point yesterday for their annual health day or whatever they call it. I'd never gone to that before, and I happened to be driving by, and parking lot was packed. And I actually got my flu shot there yesterday, so I took care of that while I was there. And it was amazing the number of seniors in our county that participate in that event. Don, you want to say something?
You can add your 50 points to your preventative.
That's right.
Yes.
And number two, the other thing is the Penn Annual Dinner. I had the real privilege of attending. We were all there, and I thought it was a great event at recognizing Kevin Crowley for his service to the
Right,
to
the
the county,
pavilion
to
was named
the
after him.
area, and naming him. And I thought your husband did an outstanding job of Jim Lewis, who's the board president, of really identifying and recognizing employees out there that make a
Oh,
difference. And,
that was
very,
nice.
Very well done. I told him that afterwards, but
Oh,
I think
thank
it's,
you.
I thought it worth public comment. Well done.
Thank you. I will relay that message. Maybe he's watching. I don't
Could be.
know. Maybe not.
And that's all I have.
Yeah, he was as eloquent as a lawyer. I guess he is a lawyer, so maybe that's where he did it. A really nice speech. And the pavilion turned out great. It's really big. I was surprised at how big it is.
It really
And
is.
it's flexible to be, enclosed in the future years as needed, so.
Yes.
Very, very nice event and good for them. 14 minutes. I don't know if I can do that.
Oh, my gosh. Well, you
But I do have a few things. Wanted to commend Auditor Keitze on achieving another AAA rating by Moody's for the general obligation debt of the county. And that's, again, a real accomplishment and very significant because it saves us money. It,
Yes.
it does a lot of positive things for us. And Auditor Keitze, of course, got the award from the auditor, state auditor, last week or 2 weeks ago. And that's, very nice compliment, so he continues to do outstanding work, and that AAA rating is very important for the county. We've got the foundation dinner tonight. The TID meeting was yesterday, the regular monthly meeting. It was relatively quiet, no major issues dealt with yesterday, but TID continues to move forward. MORPC is this afternoon, the regular meeting. Saturday, we've got this economic development conference, which is actually very interesting. Ryan Rivers, the president of the Orange Township Board of Trustees, I think spearheaded this, and certainly working with Bob and others. And it's a panel discussion. Former Congressman Teeberry will be there, and Bobby Schottenstein from the developer side, and some others. And it's talking about how the townships and the developers can work better together, to make the process.
Particular in zoning.
Yeah, and zoning it, and focus on zoning. So again, nice thought, nice event to get, I think it's
And
going
they
to be
show
pretty well
the
attended.
wrong day for it,
What do you mean?
the 12th.
Oh, that's right,
There's an event
Oklahoma.
that requires me to be out of town that day. So I won't be able to go to that event, unfortunately, so,
Yeah, that's, the Oklahoma and Texas.
That's right.
Is Saturday, so we'll certainly be all watching that, I'm sure. Finance Authority Action Plan, 5-year action plan is out. I haven't had really a chance to study it yet, but congratulations to them and to Bob and Rob. I know spent a lot of time working on this, on where they want to take the Finance Authority, and that's really good for them, because the Finance Authority has become so much more active, and they've got a lot of plans to become even more active in the future. DKMM has an electronics recycling event this Saturday at the fairgrounds from 9 to 1.
Oh, okay.
So if the public has any electronics to be recycled, they can take them there. Actually, it works very well. I think the TVs, there's a charge for the TVs, as I understand it, I think 10 or 20 bucks, depending on what type. And, but all the other electronics can be taken there, and this, is fairly busy. They have a lot of stuff that gets turned in. It's a good way to recycle it. Last item is the state capital budget. The plans for next year's state capital budget have been announced, and the state capital budget is funding available for communities to apply to get certain projects funded. It's not for operating, it's not for government buildings, it's for local community organizations like the Arts Castle, the Strand, those sorts of organizations, that if they have a capital project that they would like to have funded, they can do that. MORPC is leading the effort on this, and they've hired a firm to work on it. And they've got a fairly tight deadline. November 1st is the deadline for submission of proposals. So I guess I would spread the word that if there are organizations in our community that have capital projects that they would like to receive funding for, then this is the way to do it. And I think in the past, I think the zoo got a project funded, and the Historical Society got a project funded, and maybe one or two others. So it really is a nice program to help community organizations, nonprofits.
That's great.
They get some additional funding.
How
So
can they find out about it? Probably.
through MORPC.
Yeah, okay.
And
Okay.
Jane, do you know how? I think.
William Murdoch got that call.
Yeah.
Joe Garrity, their director of government affairs, I spoke to him about it, and it's primarily cultural, emphasis on cultural nonprofits. So, and they suggested actually that your board and other legislators, I guess you call it, submit letters of support for any projects.
Right.
If you deem them important enough.
Right. So I think Andy Brenner,
I was going to say that.
yeah, Andy Brenner, Rick Garfagna, and Chris Jordan also participate in this. And
Well, I think it's important to put them in the loop, too.
Yes.
Let them know so that they can be involved and aware early in the process.
Right. I think this is every other year is the way the cycle works on this. So again, just want to make everyone aware of it. We can focus on getting the word out. And I know the Strand's got some ideas on projects that might make sense to apply for funding. So again, nice program that can really help communities, organizations do some good things. Okay, 8 minutes to go. We could,
Do you have anything?
Yes, actually, I just wanted to recognize the dedication of the pavilion, as you did, for people in need, and thank the staff there. They've done a great job, and the board, too, in moving Penn ahead, and it was a really, really nice event. So a lot of contributors, too, locally made this happen. But what this means is that when they have the produce markets, and it can be used for other things too, but with the produce markets, what would often happen is when it rains, you know, here are people standing outside to get their produce, and our general health district is there helping people, and other organizations. So they also got wet. So it's going to be it is a real plus already. So we are going to recess then until 10 a.m. Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome everyone to the first hearing for the consideration of the Hoover number 61 drainage improvement petition. And there is a sign-up sheet circulating that everybody should sign, if you would. And I'll just go over briefly what's going to happen today. First, you're going to hear a report from the county engineer and the Soil and Water Conservation District. And then we may ask them questions, or we may not. And then I'll ask if anyone's in favor of the petition and give everyone a chance to speak. And then when you come to the podium, I'm going to swear you in, and you just give your name and address. And then I will ask for anyone opposed to the petition, and you'll do the same thing. And then there may be questions from the board. And after listening to the testimony and the report of the engineer, the board will decide whether to grant the prayer of the petition or approve the petition, or to dismiss the petition. And the board considers the following in our decision: whether the board hereby finds that the proposed improvement is necessary, that it will be conducive to the public welfare, and that it is reasonably certain that the cost of the proposed benefit will be less than, the proposed improvement, that the cost of the proposed improvement would be less than the benefit. And if the board grants the petition, the county engineer will proceed with the preparation of plans and reports and individual schedules of assessments for the project. And when the plans are complete, a final hearing will be set, and notification of this hearing will be given to the landowners, and then the board will consider the project
I'd like to ask the
again.
clerk to read the resolution to open the hearing.
Okay.
Resolution number 19-1011, public hearing for consideration of the Hoover number 61 watershed drainage improvement petition.
so moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1011. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1012, in the matter of approving for a specific occurrence, a suspension of Rule 3 speaker registration, Rule 4 limitations, and Rule 7 public comment procedure from the rules governing the public comment before the Board of County Commissioners of Delaware County, Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1012. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. Okay, Brett.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brett Bacon, Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District. I will read the first hearing report into the record and then answer any questions the board may have.
Okay.
First hearing report, Hoover number 61 watershed drainage petition per ORC 6131, October 10th, 2019. This report has been prepared for the preliminary hearing on a drainage improvement petition filed by Tony C. Hill and Christy S. Hill and others on April 19th, 2019. The petition was signed by representatives of 21 of the 156 parcels in the watershed. The general location and course of the requested improvements are quoted from the petition as followed. In Delaware County, Harlem Township, within the Hoover number 61 watershed, and generally following but not limited to the course and termini of the existing watershed. The following is the nature of work petitioned as quoted from the petition. To generally improve the drainage, both surface and subsurface, to a good and sufficient outlet by replacing, repairing, or altering the existing improvements as required and or creating new surface and subsurface drainage mains or laterals as requested by this petition. Petition process. This petition has been submitted according to Section 6131 of the Ohio Revised Code, or ORC, which authorizes the Board of Commissioners to act on behalf of benefited property owners to make drainage improvements. If the Board of Commissioners decides to proceed with the project, the costs related to the improvements and the development of plans, reports, and schedules are assessed to the landowners in the watershed according to the benefit received to their watershed acreage. These special assessments will be added to the property taxes for each property and can be spread over a maximum of a 15-year period. Property owners may also choose to pay their assessment in a lump sum payment prior to placement on their property taxes. Additionally, the improvements will be placed on the Delaware County Drainage Maintenance Program in perpetuity per ORC Section 6137, and the annual maintenance assessments will appear on property tax statements as a special assessment in the same manner as the construction assessments. These annual maintenance assessments are generally in the range of 2 to 3% of the construction assessment. It should be noted that property owners are only assessed for those improvements that are located downstream from their properties. No property is assessed for improvements located upstream. The public agencies that own rights-of-way for public roads and other public lands are also assessed for both construction and maintenance costs in the same manner as private property owners. The decision to approve a petition project is a three-step process. First, a viewing of the proposed improvement is conducted for the commissioners to familiarize themselves with the watershed and general conditions. The commissioners conducted the viewing for this project on July 15th, 2019. Next, a preliminary hearing is held to consider the initial feasibility of the proposal. It is this preliminary first hearing that is before us today. If this petition is approved, a final hearing will be conducted to further consider this petition. At that time, final details such as engineering plans and specifications, cost estimates, and a proposed schedule of assessments will be known. Existing conditions. The Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District and Delaware County Engineers Office have made the following observations of the watershed using on-site evaluation and a review of available historic records, aerial photography, topographic mapping, and soils mapping. The Hoover number 61 watershed is approximately 1,429 acres. The predominant land use within the watershed is agricultural, with rural residential also comprising a large portion of the area. There are also areas of woods and road rights-of-way. Improvements in the watershed have been constructed, improved, or modified using the ORC 6131 process in 1878, 1906, 1919, 1911, 1918, 1927, 1945, and 1961. These improvements consisted of open ditch construction and subsurface drain installation. Work has been performed on the Hoover number 61 main, as well as the Paul McElwee number 24 and Crable number 589 laterals. A portion of the Crable number 589 lateral, which was constructed in 1961, is on the Delaware County Drainage Maintenance Program. This project consisted of subsurface drain installation only and did not address any surface drainage component. Significant ponding occurs in many areas of this sub-watershed. Furthermore, the subsurface drain, which was installed as part of the project, does not extend to an open channel. This increases the difficulty in maintaining the system as a good and sufficient outlet for the sub-watershed. The remainder of the drainage system does not appear to be functioning at or near optimum capacity due to a lack of comprehensive maintenance and the generally deteriorated condition of the infrastructure. The lack of uniform grading has led to significant ponding in many areas of the watershed, and the subsurface drain system appears to have significant areas of structural failure as observed by sporadic blowouts along its course. The open channel has significant brush and vegetation on the banks and in the flow path. These conditions are indicators of an overburdened and aged drainage infrastructure. While the existing drainage system still provides some degree of drainage benefit, it does not appear to function as a good and sufficient outlet. Estimate of cost factors favorable, unfavorable, benefit versus cost. ORC 6131 requires the county engineer to state in a report factors favorable and unfavorable to a proposed project, estimate the cost of the project, and state an opinion as to whether the benefits of the project exceed the cost. The following information is presented for your consideration. Construction estimate. The project has been divided into 3 distinct areas of work: Hoover number 61 main, McElwee number 324 lateral, and Crable number 589 lateral. The Hoover number 61 main is the open channel beginning at the culvert under State Route 605 and extending approximately 5,300 feet downstream. It is inclusive of a lateral running north approximately 1,500 feet to the Woodtown Road right-of-way. The primary items of work would include log jam removal, open channel restoration, the installation of private drive culverts, surface drain shaping and grading, the construction of a grade stabilization structure, brush and vegetation removal, subsurface drain installation, seeding and mulching of disturbed areas, and possible road right-of-way improvements. The McElwee number 324 lateral would begin at the junction with the main, approximately 3,100 feet downstream of the main culvert crossing under State Route 605 South, and extend upstream approximately 4,800 feet. The primary items of work would include surface drain shaping and grading, subsurface drain installation, brush and vegetation removal, the installation of private drive culverts, seeding and mulching of disturbed areas, and possible road right-of-way improvements. The Crable number 589 lateral would begin at the junction with the main approximately 4,500 feet downstream of the main culvert crossing under State Route 605 South and extend upstream approximately 4,200 feet. The primary items of work would include surface drain shaping and grading, subsurface drain installation, brush and vegetation removal, the installation of private drive and road culverts, seeding and mulching of disturbed areas, and possible road right-of-way improvements. Hoover number 61 main construction, $90,735. McElwee number 324 lateral construction, $108,500. Crable number 589 lateral construction, $97,400. Drainage maintenance ORC 6137, first year startup, 5% of the construction estimate, $14,831.75. Project administration, survey and engineering, $25,000. Total project estimate, $336,466.75. Notes. It is important to understand that the above estimates are preliminary and made in the absence of a current detailed topographic survey of the project area. The Ohio Department of Transportation, Delaware County, and Harlem Township will be direct assessed for improvements made within their respective road rights-of-way. Should the project fail to be approved at the final hearing, the benefiting landowners, as defined by ORC 6131, may still be responsible for the cost of project administration, survey, and engineering design. Assessments. If the project moves forward to the second hearing, the Ohio Revised Code instructs the county engineer to calculate the assessments to individual property owners based on the benefits received from the improvements for the various properties in the watershed. ORC 6131 states that, quote, uplands that have been removed from their natural state by deforestation, cultivation, artificial drainage, urban development, or other man-made causes shall be considered as benefited by an improvement required to dispose of the accelerated flow of water from the uplands. Benefits are further defined by the ORC as elimination or reduction of damage from flood, removal of water conditions that jeopardize public health, safety, or welfare, and increased value of land resulting from the improvement. Individual parcel assessments are not calculated for the preliminary hearing and are only calculated if the petition moves forward to a second or final hearing. Factors favorable, unfavorable. Factors favorable to the improvement. Improved surface and subsurface drainage in the watershed. Improved outlet for subsurface drainage components of household sewage treatment systems and for residential drainage systems. Reduction of future deterioration of surface and subsurface drainage infrastructure. Annual inspection and maintenance of the improvement in perpetuity. Factors unfavorable to the improvement. Temporary land use disruption during construction. Cost of construction and maintenance may be a burden to some landowners. Removal of existing trees and brush in the improvement area. Benefits versus cost. Assessments for property within the watershed are calculated based on the benefits derived. A publication by the Ohio State University Extension titled Returns to Farm Drainage details several studies conducted by Ohio State researchers on the effects of drainage on crop yields. The studies show that fields with good drainage will produce higher yields than fields that have poor drainage. A recently completed 25-year study showed that subsurface drainage increased corn yields by 24% to 39% and increased soybean yields by 13% to 46%. The same study also analyzed the return on investment for installing subsurface drainage in a field. It found that for corn, $4 is returned for every $1 invested, and for soybeans, $3 is returned for every $1 invested. To state it generally, the benefits of drainage will equal the increased yield multiplied by the market price. The increased value or benefit for residential properties is much more subjective and difficult to quantify. For residential properties, the lack of an adequate drainage outlet can negatively impact the condition of household sewage treatment systems, potentially limiting the value of the home for resale. Should the existing system fail, the cost to perform repairs or construct an alternate sewage treatment system can range from the thousands to tens of thousands of dollars. It would also be reasonable to consider the cost of environmental degradation due to residential sewage treatment systems that may not be functioning properly. Other benefits that are commonly perceived as a result of drainage improvements focus on quality of life and positive neighborhood perception. Communities that have planned and maintained stormwater drainage infrastructures generally have higher resale values than those communities that are known to have a history of drainage problems or flooding. Conclusions. Based on all of the information gathered and generated for this project, I believe this project is technically feasible and would adequately serve the project area's drainage needs. However, the testimony brought to the board by the landowners as to whether the benefits of this project exceed the cost should be given significant consideration in the decision to move forward with this project. Should the current petition be approved to proceed to a final hearing, the petition bond will be returned and detailed plans, specifications, estimated costs, and a schedule of assessments would be prepared. Additionally, a benefit versus cost analysis will also be performed to further determine the feasibility of advancing this proposed project.
Thank you, Brett. Any questions from the commissioners?
Yeah, Brett, while you're there, the existing tile, or subsurface tile work that was done, what's the status of that? It sounds like it's...
The project, or the part of the project that's already on drainage maintenance, there is I will call it a very limited section of that tile that's on drainage maintenance. The difficulty that we face in maintaining that tile is we do not control the outlet for the tile. So ideally, or I'll say a project that we would do today, we would carry a tile to an open drainage outlet, an open ditch, a stream, something like that. When our maintenance stops before that type of an outlet, when we're outletting into another part, or a part of the same subsurface drain tile, should something happen to that stretch of tile, we are very limited, or the work that we can do to maintain the part of the drain that we have on maintenance is very limited, and it's controlled by the efficiency of that outlet. So we know that there are blockages in the system downstream of what we have on maintenance, and so what we can do to improve that situation is just extremely limited. Additionally, as that tile goes up into, I'll say, the town part of Center Village, we know that it goes under porches and houses, and it just kind of snakes back and forth. So for us to go in and replace that, it would almost have to be a wholesale replacement, and that's, in my interpretation, outside of the scope of what we can do under maintenance.
And I have a question on the laterals. You have 3 different laterals here, and is one dependent upon the other, meaning that if we just approve part of the laterals versus?
At this stage, the board you could make a decision to go forward with one or others of the laterals. To wholly say that one is dependent on the other, I guess I wouldn't go that far at this stage, because as you see, we're, can't see it. You guys know I'm colorblind. So, you can see where the two laterals junction with the main. So, to do work on those two laterals would require work on the main from that
Okay.
junction point downstream.
Okay.
So if you would decide that you didn't want to do the main, it would still take that portion of the laterals downstream, but, you know, as we say quite frequently, the first hearing's about generalities, and we get into those specifics at the final hearing. I wouldn't have enough information at this
Okay.
point to kind of give you that breakdown or that recommendation of this, if this, then this,
That,
and
and
if
that.
not that, then this can't be, so
Okay,
we just don't get into that level of detail yet.
all right.
I do have one real
Sure.
quick question.
Yes.
When was this area, the small area you referred to, put on maintenance?
1961.
Okay, I think that was the date, but.
Yep.
Just want to confirm that.
So-
But we
so-
would never do it that way today.
No, and that's the case for a lot of those older projects. You know, I don't know, I won't even speculate as to why they did, but I think, you know, as we've talked amongst ourselves internally, I think it can be just written off to the infancy of maintenance and of 6137, of that coming into law, and really not having a good perspective on what forever meant, you know? So, and hopefully people aren't saying that about us 50 years from now, so.
Following up on Commissioner Lewis's question, I just want to make sure I understand that you're saying, what you're saying at this point is that the laterals, you aren't sure if the laterals can be done without the main? Because in past ditch petitions, we've
Yeah, and
sometimes
those-
been in a situation where you
those
can't do
are,
the laterals.
yeah, we really get into those at the, you know, that kind of level of detail at the final hearing. Certainly, there are portions of what I've identified as the main that you would need to do to do the laterals properly, but to what extent and what volume of work that might require, that's something that would be fleshed out in the survey and engineering design. And I would, you know, I've divided the project as it is now, just for clarity and kind of identifying if you see the laterals really are, or the portions of the project are really kind of reflective of the clusters of properties that have signed the petition. And so in trying to identify what work might be necessary or estimate the cost to address the intent of the petition, I've divided it into those three sections. I would anticipate that division or I'll say the breakdown of the work and how that gets assessed back to the landowners if we move to the final hearing, that's going to become a lot more detailed and a lot more clear.
But it is reasonable to assume, I would think, that those laterals downstream from that lateral on the main would have to be addressed, otherwise you back to the problem you had in 1961.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Just trying to make sure
Yes,
We're all-
yes, that's correct.
same page.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we will hear from anyone in favor of the petition. Yes, if you could please. Sure, just go to the podium and I will swear you in. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. If you could just state your name and address, please.
Sure. Amber Capwell. I'm a little nervous, so I apologize.
Oh, no problem.
We actually own 3 properties on
Okay.
South State Route 605, 3441, 3420, and 3421. We are, well, I'm shaking. So it'll be all over the place. We're actually the blue parcel that's right in the middle, kind of in the triangle of the main and the one watershed.
Hey, Brett,
Let's
could you
see.
hit the lights?
Yeah, could you get the
I
lights?
can't
Right
quite,
there.
Yeah.
lights
That's
are right
us.
in the way.
Yeah,
There we go.
okay.
We're right
better.
there. And then
Okay.
we also own 2 properties across the street from this location.
They're adjacent.
Yes.
Okay.
So we are definitely in favor of this moving forward. My husband has lived at this location for 21 years. I have lived there for 15. The one thing, we are concerned about the cost to us specifically because we do own 3 locations, but the water situation has definitely severely impacted us, mostly at our primary residence, which is the blue location. 2 very specific things. we talked about, should we move forward with considering all of these? I would say at the preliminary state, that would be our ask, because we do feel that we're affected by the main. The rear of our property has started to flood drastically when rainfall is heavy. And you can see that the main kind of follows through the rear of our property. And then the front of our property, our whole front yard floods. It actually sometimes, like into 605, they have to put signs out that high water, and that's directly in front of our property. So again, I think that kind of states the case that it's definitely both acting together. We're having the flooding in the rear and also in the front. My husband couldn't be here today. He had prepared a huge speech, wanted to talk about this. He's been doing a lot of investigating. He got called to Missouri, so couldn't be here, so I'm here on his behalf, nervously talking through this. But one thing we did want to bring up and take into consideration, and I don't know that it has been or has been considered, was, like I said, he's lived here for 21 years, and this problem did not surface for us specifically until about the last 2.5 years. At that time, what we feel happened was they put gas line through a significant portion of 605. Almost immediately following the installation of the gas lines, that's when we started experiencing the flooding personally. Can't speak on behalf of everyone. Our property across the street, it's a rental property, but we do own it. That property started flooding severely at the same time, which it never had previously. Again, I've lived there 15 years, so there was a direct correlation for us at that time. We also lost 2 very large maple trees that were over 40 years old plus. We had an arborist come out. We actually have a close family friend that's a certified arborist, because we didn't know why our trees just kind of all of a sudden died. It was actually pretty devastating for us because these trees were huge in our front yard, a very big staple. Lynn actually has a very beautiful tree next to us, but ours died, and the arborist gave us a full report and said that it was directly due to excessive water to the tree. Otherwise, it was in perfectly good condition. That was a year after, so it's been 1.5 years. That was a year after the installation of the gas lines. And then our property across the street this past year, we just had to cut down, again, another huge maple tree that passed away. And the arborist again said that it was directly due to water. So we're definitely in favor of this moving forward. I think our ask would be that it be taken into consideration that something impacted the drainage system that was beyond our control. Like, we definitely understand that we're responsible and landowners and would seek benefit. However, I guess our consideration, and we're not really, legal experts or anything like that, but we just want it to be considered that we feel something negatively impacted that caused all of this to take place. Like, it's not, yes, there's deterioration, but we feel like the deterioration could have been caused or impacted by the gas line installation. Especially when we hear things like, hey, when we're investigating the tiles, it looks like there's spots where it's blocked up, and you think like directional boring, how they're putting those gas lines in, that could cause impacts in that way. So those are conclusions that we have come to and seen. Again, I would consider us severely impacted by the situation and would definitely be in favor of it moving forward.
Okay, thank you very
Yes.
much. Did a fine job. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the petition, sir? If you could just come forward, thank you. And I will swear you in. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. My name's Lynn Borden. I'm a neighbor of Amber. I see that I'm not a big internet
Oh, Your address, sir.
Oh,
Yes.
3455 South State Route 605.
Okay, thank you. Oh, go
I live
ahead.
at North Drive and 605, actually, own
Okay.
two properties there too, and one property's on North Drive. So
Okay.
I see, not following through this real well, now that I come here, I see the people on Woodtown Road that have actually initiated this they have the problems, but I see now that most of where we live is all of the lines around North Drive, Rich Street, and back of the properties there that are in back of us, the 8 acres that in the blue there that are in back of us. Again, I have trees. The tree was healthy at one point in time, but now it just kind of went, acted like it wanted to re-blossom in the middle of summer, you know, it was producing all these helicopters, so I don't know whether the confusion, produced confusion from the excess water, but we have the neighbor's property on the south side of North Drive. His property, I forget the address at that point in time, but his property floods bad, and the culvert underneath Rich Drive, I see maybe Harlem Township has a line to replace that, but the leaves and the trees, pine, have clogged up that culvert, and they cleaned it out. It was actually flooding the property at the rear of Rich Drive and North Drive, Rich Street. So when they cleaned out that culvert, it kind of eliminated the flooding from that back property there on the back corner, but the property on the south side of North Drive there and Rich Street, it floods. My particular house where I live on 3455, the state come down through there and cleaned out the ditch lines and redone them. And in the excess of the heavy rain, I realized that, you know, it's caused a lot of problems. But my property floods halfway up to my house. Now, granted, it flows away. When the state come down and at least did a little ditch line cleaning, they didn't seem to bother the farmers' fields. They come down and just dug out all the residentials greatly, where you can't even mow in there now. But I don't know why they didn't clean out the farm fields in the ditch line to make water flow better. But it's just, I just see, you know, just realizing that most of the lines are in our area there, North Street, Rich Drive, and granted, the water flows away on 605 when the state come down and did a little work, you know, it'll dissipate within a day and a half. And the flooded property on the south side of North Drive, it takes 2 days, 2.5 days to drain. And so I was kind of surprised that, you know, the people on Woodtown Road initiated this stuff, but I see most of the problems in our area, so we're going to be impacted by this cost. But I think it's, you know, the system's old. People put trees in their yards. The tree roots grow down in through the old clay tile. You know, I hear there's bubbling up on the McElwee property from so much water force going down through there. It's actually shooting up out of the ground.
Sir, could
I
you
haven't witnessed
just
that
show
myself.
me with the pointer exactly where your property is? I think I know what you mean, or if you want to just show me. Yeah, thank you.
I think Amber's, this is the 8 acres in back of us. I think Amber's property. Yes, yes, you're correct, yeah. This is 8 acres in back of us, and Amber's property's here, or my property. North Drive is on the other side, the 605. This is 605.
Okay.
So I'm about right here.
Okay.
On these places. And the other property I'm talking about is on the other side of 605. floods greatly. And then the property back here, until they cleaned out that culvert, which I see they draw a line through across the road, so they must be planning on replacing Harlem Township. But this property back here flooded quite bad until they cleaned out that culvert.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Good. That helps.
So,
Oh, just sec, we've got to just take one at a time
so I guess,
at the podium.
you know, as like I say, I was surprised that we're more impacted by this at our residence than the people that are initiated the project on Woodtown Road. So, you know, it's only beneficial, I guess, for the people that live outside Center Village or Center Village limits there to you know.
Okay. All righty, well, thank you. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the petition?
Can I ask you a question real
Yes.
briefly?
Yes.
Brett, the main line, I assume it flows south, is that correct, or does it flow north?
Please repeat that.
The main line, is it flowing, is it taking the water south, or is it taking the water north?
Yeah, where'd the pointer go? Oh, thank you. So the flows, where's it at? There it is, okay. So the flow would be down, and then down, and down. And then the drainage would continue on to the west then.
I assume that, but when they were talking about the petitioners were up on the north end, I wasn't sure. Maybe I
Yeah.
thought maybe it flowed the other way.
It's kind of one of those unique watersheds where you got a decent portion of it that's flowing north to south, and then obviously the two laterals are flowing south to
Yeah.
north, so.
Okay. Okay,
Very well.
thank you. Yes, sir, in the back. I will swear you in. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. If you could state your name and address, please.
Harlan Weaver, 3616 South State Route 605.
Okay, could you show us where your property is?
We are right in this location right here.
Okay,
And I actually do have some documentation and some photos if you would like to look
we
at those.
can, yeah, we can actually get that copied.
Okay.
So you can hang on to it.
My wife and I have moved in there about 4 years ago, and almost immediately had water trouble, started working on things. At one point in time, we brought in 100 ton of dirt just to try to, the water damage was so bad that I would just take my little tractor to try to mow my side yard, and it would just sink. It was just, the water runoff would not. Our main problem there is literally the surface fluid, waters. Just south of us, I forget that, if that's Rich Street or what. North Drive. The water comes off of that onto the properties right here, and then runs down onto us, and literally just continues running on down this way, which is probably where a lot of the other folks are getting their water runoff. It's just, my best bet and understanding is this Crable here is just not doing anything for us. It has, the water will be there 2, 3, 4 days afterwards. I literally have had to pull, upon moving there, flat rock all over my entire property, and I've stacked it up. And during a particular rain that we had, and I know we've had lots of rain this past season, so I understand that contributed quite a bit. But at one particular rain we had a large amount of it coming through, and I went out to the back to do some pictures and filming and such. The water coming off of that hill was only being blocked from hitting my house by way of being diverted by that pile of rock. So it was diverted away from where I was presently working on a new patio to my front yard. So it's just literally pouring out there. like I said, it just stands there for several days. A couple of the pictures I've got, one of them, of course, the water's coming from my folks uphill from me, and then, of course, mine's going to my neighbor next to me. So it's just it's like a continual process right on down the hill that needs to be fixed. And like I said, I believe it's the Crable that's causing most of our location problem right here.
Okay. Thank you, sir, very much. We'll copy that.
What I also have here is, in addition to the cost of the dirt, is also having to resoil and, or fertilize, and the landscaping cost of having somebody come out and spread it. And in addition, with all of this, nobody else has mentioned it yet, I'm sure they will, but I mean, with all this water standing around, we're being inundated by mosquitoes and everything else. And I've had to bring out mosquito sprays and things like that to try to get rid of all this.
Okay.
That's added cost as well.
Now, are these costs that you've already incurred or costs you will have to incur?
All I've already incurred, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Who else would like to speak in favor of the petition? Yes, sir. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
My name is Ed Valeska, V as in Victor, A-L-E-S-K-A. I live at 3658 South State Route 605. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I give you 1,000 words.
Okay. Thank you.
Is your property in the same area as the other individuals?
I live at the extreme south end. I live right, let's see, here's 605, so I'm right there. And I'm affected by the Craybill, and my neighbors across the street are affected by the McElwee. That's my personal knowledge. The photograph that I've handed you shows the intersection of North and Rich, right where the red dot is dancing. That was the day after a rain. The night of the rain, the intersection was completely covered. This is a public roadway, completely covered with water. It is a T intersection, and all three sides of that intersection were inundated. And it happens regularly. And then there's debris left in the roadway when it finally drains away, et cetera. So that's my primary concern. My neighbors, including Mr. Borden, who spoke earlier, and Ms. Cadwell, are affected here. And this water fills up the front yards right on down the street and sits there like a pool or a pond for days after a rain. You know, that's it. I'll keep it short and sweet. It rains and it just ponds.
Okay. Yeah.
We need to encourage this water to keep on moving.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
My name's Tony Hill, and I live at 13600 Woodtown Road. And pretty much the reason I got this started, I've lived there 17 years.
Oh, could you show us again with the pointer?
Right up there.
Okay, thank you. Way up north.
Yep. I've lived there 17 years, and when I first moved there, the water's supposed to go east and then back south, which a couple of days it would be gone. Within the last 5 to 8 years, that ditch just sits full now, and it comes back at me. It doesn't go anywhere. I've got a 130-foot driveway that I've lost because when it comes back, the first 50 yards driveway is underwater. it just has nowhere to go. It fills part of my property up on the east side. And once we get water in that ditch, say this winter we start getting our snow and it starts to melt, that ditch will be full till August or whenever we get 90-degree weather. It's the only way it leaves. The only way. It has nowhere to flow. It just sits there. I'm just asking, I just want to get the water moving. Because without that, every year the erosion's getting worse and worse. The water comes farther and farther towards the house. Pretty much my issue.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Anyone else wish to speak in favor of the petition? Yes, sir.
My name is
Do you
Rick.
solemnly swear, sorry. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, yes.
Thank you.
My name is Rick Beck. I live at 3182 South State Route 605, which is right there. And we have that culvert that crosses the road. That's on the corner of our property. And then we have the ditch that goes down through the field next door.
Where is it again, sir?
We're right, that's our house right there.
That's your house, okay.
That's the brand-new culvert that crosses 605 is right there. It's a big box culvert. It was about $2 million according to ODOT.
Okay.
Which may or may not be a problem of its own. So we're generally in supportive of good infrastructure and everybody needs drainage, and everybody that talks here has issues. We particularly don't have issues. So really, we're here to say that, it has been 2 years in a row of record rainfall. September 1 of last year, we had a 100-year rain event at our place. We measured 4.5 inches in that one event. And that culvert that was brand new at the time filled to the top, never crested the road. I've never seen water over 605. But, this is really catastrophic rain. The farmers here can attest that, it's been just crazy. 2 years in a row of record rain. I believe the last year was the record, and the year before was very close to a record rainfall. So a lot of this has all come, and not to say we don't have issues, but I think we need to keep in the back of our mind, these are record rainfall periods. And some of these events and some of the pictures, I can show you pictures of, September 1 last year. And we did have a 100-year rain event, which only happens once in 100 years, supposedly, according to statistics. So.
Sir, can I clarify, are you for it or against it, or you?
We're for it.
Okay.
We're for it in general. We just want to make sure it makes sense. It looks awfully expensive for what it is. We personally won't benefit from it in any way. But we're a good neighbor. We want everybody, but we just want it to make sense and that we're not overreacting to a lot of rain. So, there have been a lot of things that have happened. There's been construction, there's been things that have broken pipes and so on. So we're generally in favor. We just want to keep in the back of our minds that there are mitigating situations, based on the weather. So I think that's the only thing I would have.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in support of the petition? Yes, ma'am. Oh, sure. Oh, no, go ahead. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
My name's Kathy Swift. I'm the other half at 3182 South State Route 605. So
Okay.
the same property that Rick just pointed out. And I just wanted to add to that what Rick shared. So we actually have on our property, we actually have 2 of our own drains, which I think helps drain our pastures. But I guess what I want to point out, and maybe Brett can help with this, is 2 things. One is related to, so we lived through the installation of the new culvert that was referred to by the Ohio Department of Transportation, which I think was about 2-3 years ago, which I would have thought, and these poor people that are talking that live down in the Center Village area, we see their flooding all the time. which literally nearly goes up to their front porches at times. And I agree that it has gotten worse since so we've been out there long enough to see that, since Consumers Energy put in the gas lines. But also, I would have thought, because you're talking about that orange and black line, so the McElwee lateral, right, that is in that section, those homes should be draining down there through that McElwee and then out. And when they put in that culvert, which is right at the, right here is the new culvert. It's huge, as Rick talked about. I think it was a $2 million project on both sides of 605. It feeds, Brett can probably explain it better, but it feeds all the way through here, and then it feeds all the way out here. So the east side of it is not demonstrated on this aerial. But that culvert sits with probably, 6 feet of water all summer long in it. The old culvert did not do that. So speaking of mosquitoes, a ton of mosquitoes sitting on our property right now. But I would have thought that had it been done properly, and I'm questioning whether it was, that this whole drainage system here coming from these homes also would have been addressed by Ohio Department of Transportation into this culvert so that we would have gotten better drainage and solved some of the problem that was here. I just can't imagine, I've never understood the engineering of this and why now we have 6 feet of water sitting in this huge culvert that has to then go over a bunch of rocks, and then when it gets deep enough, then it flows out over and ultimately into the Hoover Reservoir. I mean, it has to flow a long way, obviously, to get to the Hoover, but it just, the whole thing doesn't make sense to me. And I was there before I owned the land before and after they installed it, and I come back to that again. I know we've had ODOT out there. We talked about it at the April meeting. I think we talked it at the November meeting. They've looked at it. They think maybe it's working. I just can't, in my mind, it just makes no sense to me how that culvert is working. And the explanation that I got from Ohio Department of Transportation, and there's some law in the books where they have to worry about the fish upstream, so they have to make sure that the fish upstream are taken care of. And don't go ahead and laugh if you want, because I did when they told me. There's some natural resources, something law in the books about the fish upstream, and they have to design it the way they designed it because of that.
Okay.
So that was
Yeah.
one part that I wanted to. And then the other one is, I just have a question under your notes, Brett, in part 2 about the Ohio Department of Transportation. Delaware County and Harlem Township would be directly assessed for improvements made within their respective road rights in this project. Does that mean that they will take part in if the cost comes in at 366, they will take part in that? And if you could address, if that's the case, at this stage, what percentage in each of the main and lateral areas you think that would be their responsibility?
Road rights of way can have two different types of assessments in projects such as this. First of all, they are a landowner in the watershed, and they receive a calculated assessment as if they were a privately owned property. Additionally to that, any work that's done directly within the right-of-way, be it road ditch improvement, a road culvert, there can be a gamut of improvements that would be done within the right-of-way. Those are right-of-way improvements, and those improvements are directly assessed. The costs of those are borne by the right-of-way holder and not by the landowner. So those would be taken off the amount that's assessed back to the watershed as a whole. To sit here at a first hearing and try to give a percentage of what those improvements might be, I just can't do it because we haven't done any survey or engineering. Again, those are specifics, and at the first hearing, we can only deal in generalities.
Okay, thank you, Brett. Just a sec, you'll have to come back up to the podium. We're on audio. So can you address it to Brett later? I mean, or is it something that needs to be?
Back up.
Yeah, come on up.
No, I just think that the cost of this, of course, is on everybody's mind, and how much, we want the flooding corrected, but the cost of it is critical to, how, everybody walking out of here going whether I want to support it or not. So is the portion, is the 366, if the project came in at 366, are you saying that these groups would share in that cost, or there would be additional costs that they would share in? And the 366 is just landowner costs? Do you know what I mean?
The 366, the project estimate would include potential work within the right-of-way. The nature of that work and in the past, maybe if we knew exactly, it's a road culvert, we can separate those costs out, and we know, can make a pretty good stab at what it's going to be. We can quote that number in a first hearing setting. This project, it's just impossible to do without knowing, the survey and the grades in the area and kind of doing our investigation. It is just impossible to drill down into the specifics of what improvements might be necessary to the road right-of-way. I can tell you that to accomplish or to meet the request of the petition, there are definitely road right-of-way improvements specifically that will need to be performed. The nature of those, I couldn't even hazard a guess at this point.
And those would be picked up by the respective jurisdictions who own and control the road?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, I just want to restate the point that even if there were no improvements directly to the right-of-way, the county, ODOT, and Harlem Township are going to have assessments as part of this potential project if it would go to that stage, because they are a landowner in the watershed. Their right-of-way benefits or uses the drainage. It's those improvements that get constructed directly within the right-of-way, they would have an additional direct assessment, as we call it, to pay for that work.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor? Anyone who has not spoken yet? Yes, sir. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Name's David Jackson, 2341 South State Route 605. I've got a couple questions, and it's more going to be for Brett.
Okay.
The Crable, how far into the south is that going to go in Center Village? Will it go to the water tower property or a little bit south?
The easy answer to that is to service every property that's signed the petition. So, and I know it's really hard to see, but I know we have some folks down in here, and I believe there was one or two right in here. So it's going to extend pretty much the entire length up to the edge of the watershed.
Okay.
Should I say up here?
Yes.
Okay.
The reason I asked that question is a township trustee, we have a street that horseshoes around some property on Center Village Road, and those folks in that horseshoe area have extreme drainage problems. And there is a tile that goes across the Delco lot of their water tower that comes to that area, but it is not functioning. So that's part of my question there. My second part is, and I own property, the top two properties in the yellow to the right of 605, there to the east side, the white dot is
Could you show me where you mean, sir?
It's a secret. There you go.
Okay.
That's where we're at. Now, from my home headquarters there to Woodtown Road, there is a box culvert halfway between the house and Woodtown Road. There's another box, a catch basin, at the corner of the intersections. Has there been any input from ODOT in this project, Brad?
Not yet. We would get into discussions with ODOT if we got to a survey and design phase.
Okay.
Okay, the reason I asked that is 3 to 4 times this year, north of my house and south of Woodtown, there's water been across 605. I usually have to call ODOT about coming out and putting high water signs up. And that's usually, we've had 2 cars this year hit the water and go off in the fields. So if for that part, that water goes to the west side of 605 and then goes south to the creek. And when ODOT put a new box culvert in down there where that blue triangle is, just down below my buildings, they blocked the outlet to that tile. The contractor denied it, and I know it was there all my life. And it's like Mr. Hill's property that's leading the petition. His water problem started when his neighbor built his home, elevated it, hauled in 100 to 150 loads of dirt, built a pond, and spread the spoil and blocked his watershed, his surface watershed. So there's issues there, but if we could help the water above my house there from going across 605, I'd be in favor on that part.
Okay. And you won't know that yet, Brett, until, okay. Anyone else wishes to speak in favor of the petition? Is there anyone else opposed to the petition who wishes to speak? Okay.
I have a few questions.
Yes, okay. Brett?
Brett?
Just stand by the
Questions.
podium. Yeah.
Kind of informational, but this culvert issue, it does seem odd that water would be staying there year-round based on the testimony we heard. And I would think that the culvert would be designed so it would empty. So the question becomes, was it poorly designed, or is the water downstream backing up and it just never has the opportunity to?
I'm going to tread lightly on this answer because it is an ODOT design, not something that we had any input into. But I will say that it is fairly standard practice in today's world to design those culverts to, I'll say the bottom is subgraded to the outlet grade because they want that to fill up with sediment and be what we call a soft bottom. And those are...
So it fills up with sediment over time?
Yeah, as that water sits in there, the sediment
An issue
will...
with mosquitoes, et cetera.
I don't disagree with you, but...
That doesn't seem, from my perspective,
I
that doesn't
know.
seem reasonable.
I know where you're coming from.
So is that something you'll at least take a look at? I realize you're limited in what you could do there, but...
We've already looked at it with ODOT, and their statement is it's functioning as it should.
For all this dirt, they need to take some of it and just throw it in the bottom of the culvert.
We could do that. But no,
Yeah.
no,
Little
I didn't
sarcasm.
say that.
Any other, go ahead.
The farmland to the right, the east there, they don't have laterals, but they are going to be part of they are part of this project.
Correct.
So I assume there must be good tiling through there, so they're not real...
Nobody in that, only the properties that are shaded in blue signed the petition. So it's our standard practice that we carry the improvement or design the improvement to the properties that have signed the petition or in essence asked for it. I don't really know the condition of the drainage on the properties that did not.
Another question. I've never thought of this before. I heard it today, and that's the unique thing about these. I think we learn something every time. You talked about assessments to the state. I assume they accept our local judgment on this, and they pay it without...
Yep, absolutely. They do get, when you have a state highway involved, they do have some review responsibility or I'll say right of review, but we have a very good working relationship with ODOT, and that's not an issue. But yes, this wouldn't be the first project that we've assessed ODOT on.
I've never thought to ask that question before.
Yeah.
And the gas lines that were put in, I'm going to guess they could have broken some tile, et cetera. The recourse the neighbors would have would be
Civil.
File civil suit against
Yes,
those.
unfortunately, that wouldn't be anything that the county or I don't even believe ODOT would have had anything
They
to do
certainly
with.
have the right, I would think, to seek some sort
Yes,
of compensation.
I would say if we identify areas as part of engineering design or even construction of a project where, you could clearly identify that the tile was disrupted or broken because of installation of a utility, we would certainly provide that information to the landowners, but it would be up to the landowners to pursue civil litigation for the damages that.
Our role
that occurred.
today is to solve the problem.
Yes.
But they still have that opportunity if they choose to
Yes.
pursue it.
And I wish I could say that was the first time I've ever heard of a utility cutting tile, but it's not.
Commissioner Benton, any questions?
Yeah, kind of following, Commissioner Real asked a couple of questions I was thinking about, but the significant majority of the watershed is farmland.
Absolutely.
To the east of 605. Where does that water flow? Through that culvert mainly, is that?
There's a couple different sub-breaks. You can see, can you hit the lights for me again? It actually shows up pretty good on the maps here. You can see these lines here. Okay, so this portion coming up into here, so I would say the vast majority is coming up and going under this culvert here that's south of Mr. Jackson's home.
Okay.
And then goes down into the main. And then you can see these lines here. These would go up and go through the culvert that's near the Swift's home. And that, they spoke correctly in my preliminary investigation. I believe 605 is indeed the break. So everything east of 605 is coming up that side of the road and going through this culvert, and everything west of 605 would be in the Crable subwatershed.
Okay, that's all I had at this point.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to, yes, Eric.
I think he wanted to add something more. You good?
Yeah, David addressed the situation
Oh.
about the water overflow and accidents. People fly down 605, traffic
Sure.
is
Yeah,
is
dangerous.
speeding is a big problem, and they don't recognize Center Village, so when they
Sure.
come down there at 60 mile an hour when they're supposed to be doing 40,
Yeah.
and hit that water, and sometimes they're afraid they're going to, they're going so fast, it can just flip right into your house. You don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I need you at the microphone.
Again, nervous, Amber. My properties are down here, so in that area, not up here, but still the same concept. So I hit all the key points my husband told me to. We're affected by this one and this one.
I think we figured it out. We just didn't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to tell him I messed up. I told him we lived in the wrong houses, but other than that, I think we're good. I do just want to reiterate, just any diligence around, what you guys identify may have caused this. We definitely want to pursue that because, again, we're absolutely in favor. We have a huge problem, but we are concerned about the financial impact, especially owning 3 properties with acreage. I know that the assessments are done by acreage and so on and so forth. So that's something that, it's hard to swallow, that we'll be, financially liable for something that's kind of outside of our control. But yes, just want to make sure that we're able, maybe he'll reach out to you. I just want to make sure we have access to the information to pursue if we need to.
Sure, and as this moves along too, if you think of a
Yes.
question, you can always call
For sure,
Brett too.
for sure. Thank you.
I will ask you to read the resolution to close the hearing.
Resolution number 19-1013, in the matter of closing the public hearing for consideration of the Hoover number 61 watershed drainage improvement petition.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1013. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
And I will ask you to read the matter of granting the prayer of the petition.
Resolution number 19-1014, in the matter of granting the prayer of the petition and directing the Delaware County Engineer to proceed with preparations of plans, reports, and schedules for the Hoover number 61 watershed drainage improvement petition.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. We do a lot of these, and some we have neighbors who don't get along because the water's not on their property, and they don't seem like, I want to compliment the Swifts for understanding you all are neighbors and you work together, and, because that's not, we don't always hear that, to be very candid. So you're to be commended for that. This one's fairly easy. I think the benefits certainly outweigh the cost, and And our role here is to take advantage of the state laws on this that allows us to move forward. This is like an insurance policy that's going to take care of you long-term, and Soil and Water and Engineers Office do a tremendous job, so I certainly support it.
Yes.
There clearly is a problem here. You know, sometimes we're not so sure, but I remember the tour and you know, all the testimony. Clearly, there's a big problem. It's a big number, so it'll be interesting and important to see just how it does shake out with the allocation and so on. But again, I think it does need to be fixed, and hopefully this process will do that. So.
Yes, and some of the cost will be picked up by governmental entities. We have a trustee sitting here, so Harlem could be hit for some costs here. But anyway.
As will the county, probably.
As the county, yes, yes, and the state, right, right. And thank you so much for coming in, and let's vote.
Vote on motion 19-1014. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. And the hearing has ended. If you wish to make any comments to us, I can't take testimony because we had already closed the hearing, but we're here, so you can let us know what you think, too.
We do have need for executive.
Oh, we do have need for executive, yes.
Resolution number 19-1015, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of confidential information related to economic development.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1015. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
We are now recessed into executive session.
Resolution number 19-1016, in the matter of adjourning out of executive session.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1016. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. We are adjourned.
Sarah, is that your coffee stains on here?